Om Srimate Ramanujaya Namaha. Shuklam Bharadharam Vishnum Shashivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasannavadanam Dhyayet Sarva Vignopashantaye Jnanaanandamayam Devam Nirmalasphatiकाकृतिम् Adharam Sarva Vidyanam Hayagrivam Upasmahe Saraswati Namastubhyam Varade Kamarupini Vidyarambham Karishyami Siddhirbhavatu me sada Yatpadambhoruhadhyana vidhvastashesha kalmashah Vastutamupayaatoham Yamuneyam namamitam Yo nityamachyutapadambujayugma rukma Vyamohatastaditarani trinaya mene Asmadguror bhagavatosya dayaika sindhoh Ramanujasya charanau sharanam prapadye. Offering my pranamams to all of you. We'll start the next session. So we were on. Okay. In the last session, we saw the Geetaartha Sangraha shloka number 9, which is a summary of chapter 5, Karma Sannyasa Yoga by Swami Yamunacharya. So Karma Yogasya Saukaryam Shaighriyam Kaschana Tadvidhaha Brahmajnana Prakarascha Panchamadhyaya Uchyate, which we saw in the previous session. Now we go to chapter 6, which is the Dhyana Yoga, which is normally called Dhyana Yoga, which is having 47 shlokas. So what is the summary shloka which Swami Yamunacharya gives? We'll see. Geetaartha Sangraha shloka number 10. Yogabhyasa vidhir yogi chaturdha yoga sadhanam yoga siddhis yogasya paramyam shashtha uchyate. I'll tell once more. Yogabhyasa vidhir yogi chaturdha yoga sadhanam yoga siddhisva yogasya paramyam shashtha uchyate. Now let us look at the meanings of the individual words in this particular shloka. First one is yoga abhyasa vidhi, which means the practice of yoga in the form of atma chintana dhyana yoga, contemplation on the jivatman. Dhyana, contemplation on Jivatman is yoga abhyasa vidhi. Vidhi means what is the procedure, what is the vidhi, what is the ordained thing as far as yoga abhyasa is concerned. Next, yogi chaturdha means 4 types of yogis will come here, which we'll see in this chapter. Yoga sadhanam. Sadhanam is the means needed for attaining such a yoga, which is there are 2 sadhanams which are given. One is abhyasa and another is vairagya. Abhyasa is continuous uninterrupted practice and vairagya is dispassion, detachment. Then yoga siddhi. What siddhi means is that that such a yoga will eventually succeed, even though it may have some occasional break here and there. It will continue, is what it is telling. That we'll see as we go along in this particular session. Then svayogasya paramyam, which means the greatness of bhakti yoga towards the Lord. So that is, these are the 5 things. Yoga abhyasa vidhi, yogi chaturdha, yoga sadhanam, yoga siddhi, swayogasya paramyam. These 5 things are explained in chapter 6, is what Swami Yamunacharya tells. Shashta uchyate are told in chapter 6. In chapter 6, the method of practice of dhyana yoga leading to jivatma sakshatkara, self-realization, then 4 types of yogis, then the means or prerequisites for such a yoga, abhyasa and vairagya, which eventually lead to the success of the yoga, even though there is a break in between, and the greatness of bhakti yoga towards the Parama Purusha. These 5 things are told in this particular chapter. Next, Now, we'll look at some notes from the Geetaartha Sangraha Raksha by Swami Vedanta Deshikar. So, in the Geetaartha Sangraha Raksha, Swami Vedanta Deshikar quotes from the Bhagavad Gita Bhashya of Sri Yamunacharya, where the connection to chapter 5 is given. So, at the end of chapter 5 has 29 shlokas. In shlokas 27 and 28, they are given some technical terms and some methods which are told, which lead to further explanation as told in chapter 6. So, 527 and 528 form the preamble to chapter 6. स्पर्शान् कृत्वा बहिर्बाह्यान् चक्षुश्चैवान्तरे भ्रुवोः प्राणापानौ समौ कृत्वा नासाभ्यन्तरचारिणौ यतेन्द्रियमनोबुद्धिर्मुनिर्मोक्षपरायणः विगतेच्छाभयक्रोधः यस्सदा मुक्त एव सः. These are the two shlokas. What is the meaning? Keeping the external senses away, which means removing the external sense objects from my attention and focusing inside. Focusing the sight on the spot in between the eyebrows. Chakshushchaiv antare bhruvoha. Maintaining the exhalation, inhalation and exhalation which are happening in the nose at a uniform pace according to pranayama methods. Having controlled the senses, Yatendriya mana senses, the mind, controlling the senses and also the mind, and being without desire. Vigate ichha bhaya krodha means without desire, fear and anger. Having liberation as a sole purpose, one who is practicing only contemplation on the self, such a person is as good as liberated itself. Yassada mukta eva saha is mukta eva, he is already liberated, is what Krishna is telling. So that brings the preamble to chapter 6. Now, there's a question which Swami Vedanta Deshikar poses. There are 5 things told in this shloka by Swami Yamunacharya: Yogabhyasa Vidhi, Yogi Chaturdha, Yoga Sadhanam, Yoga Siddhi, and Swayogasya Paramyam. However, Bhagavad Ramanujacharya focuses on only one thing, which is Yogabhyasa Vidhi, as the primary message of chapter 6. Now, what about these 4? Are these not to be considered? The answer is the other 4 are incidental, anushangika, and are accessories. So, tad anubandhaha prasangad anye pratipadyante iva. So, they are just prasangika, which is incidental. They are accessories to the main thing, which is Yogabhyasa Vidhi. So, Bhagavad Ramanuja focuses most only on Yogabhyasa Vidhi in this particular chapter, whereas these 4 are nothing but accessories, or they are incidental with respect to Yogabhyasa Vidhi. Now, it's very interesting. So, this chapter is about Yogabhyasa Vidhi. Now, Swami Vedanta Deshikar gives very interestingly one-word summary of each chapter of the Bhagavad Gita at this stage. When he gives in the Raksha for shloka number 10, he gives one-word summary for each shloka of Bhagavad Gita, which I thought which can be used as titles of these chapters. We have the titles of the chapters like chapter 2 is Sankhya Yoga, chapter 3 is Karma Yoga, chapter 4 is Jnana Yoga. Like that, we have titles given in the standard printed books. But we can also think of these as the titles of each of the chapters. So that's what Vedanta Deshikar has told. So first chapter is Shravana Adhikari. Adhikari means one person who is eligible, who has adhikara, who is arhate is called. So arhata means he is eligible for receiving the shastra shravana, means the listening to the shastras. That is what Arjuna was in at that point of time, when before the Gitapadesha was done. In the first chapter, Arjuna got ready for receiving the instruction. Then second chapter is Tanmoha Shamanam. The Moha Shamana, the confusion or the delusion which Arjuna had in his mind, that was subdued by Krishna. That is the second chapter. Third is Karma Yoga Kartavyatvam. That Karma Yoga has to be done. It's ordained that Karma Yoga has to be done. That was told in the third chapter. Third, Avantara Bhedaha. Avantara Bheda means those are the Karma Yoga Bhedas. because so many yajnas are told in the 4th chapter. Those are the bhedas of karma, means the different types of karma are told in the 4th chapter. Then tadantargata jnana vipakaha. Those, so the jnana amsha which is embedded within karma yoga itself, and the fruition of that jnana, how that jnana becomes complete, attains fruition, attains results, that is told in 5th chapter. Then yoga abhyasa vidhi, that's what we saw here. Yoga abhyasa vidhi is the 6th chapter, how to practice the yoga abhyasa. 7th one is pratibuddha pradhanyam. So Jnana Vijnana Yoga is titled as Pratibuddha Pradhanyam. Then 8th chapter is Trividha Adhikara Vedya Upadeya Vibhagaha. So there is one thing special about Bhagavad Ramanuja Bhashya as far as 7th and 8th chapters is concerned. Krishna tells about 4 types of bhaktas. Artho, Jignasur, Artharthi, Jnanicha, Bhartarchavah, he says in 7th chapter. So Bhagavad Ramanuja combines Artha and Artharthi as one, called Aishwaryarthi, means one person who wants worldly comforts, worldly wealth and so on. Second one is Kaivalyarthi, one person who wants Jivatma Sakshatkara. And third one is Moksharthi, Bhagavad Charanarthi, one who wants moksha. So these 3 types of devotees, Vibhagaha, how they perform their upasana is told in the 8th chapter. Then next 9th chapter is Prakarako Bhakti Yoga. So Bhakti Yoga along with its modes is introduced in the 9th chapter. 10th chapter is the Vibhuti Yoga, Guna Vibhuti Anantyam. The infiniteness of the Vibhutis are told in the 10th chapter. Then 11th one is Vaishwarupya Darshana Upayaha. So how to get the Vaishwarupa Darshana, the upaya for that is told in 11th chapter. Bhaktyarohana Kramaha, Bhaktyaroha Kramaha, Bhakti Aroha. See, suppose somebody wants to climb to Bhakti Yoga, then how it is to be done is told in the 12th chapter. Vishuddha Kshetrajna Vijnanam. The Parishuddha Kshetrajna, which is the Kshetrajna, which is the, you can call it as Pratyagatman or Jivatman also. How that Kshetrajna Vijnanam, that is the method of realization of the Kshetrajnam is told in this chapter, in the 13th chapter. Then Traigunya Vishodhanam, the 3 types of gunas are told in 14th chapter. Then Purushottama Vailakshanyam is told in 15th chapter. The difference and distinctiveness of Purushottama compared to the 2 others, that is the Uttama Purushastu Anyaha Paramatme Yudahrataha is what is told. So that is told in 15th chapter. Then Shastra Vashyatvam, so that a person has to follow the Shastras, is told in the 16th chapter. What happens if a person does not follow Shastras. And 17th is Shastriya Vivechanam. See, Vivechanam, as per Vivechanam is division as to Sattva, Rajas and Tamas, about the Yajna, Dana, Tapas, then Ahara and all are told in the 17th chapter. And 18th chapter is Sarodhara. Sarodhara means it is a summary and conclusion. Sara, it's the essence of the whole thing is told in the 18th chapter. These are the titles of the chapter as told by Vedanta Deshikar. One word description of each chapter told by Vedanta Deshikar as the notes of Geetaartha Sangraha, shloka number 10. Next one. Now we come to the Yogi Chaturdha. 4 types of yogis were mentioned in the in this shloka what I told you. What are the 4 types of yogis? The first stage is when the self realize. This is called as first stage is when I realize the similarity in essential nature of all the Jivatmans. That is Atma Samya is what it is called. Jnanaika Akarataya Anandatva Sarvatma Samya. So Samya, it is Samya means similarity of all the Atmans. See the Atman of me and of Atman of some other animal near my house, or Atman of all of us sitting in this conversation, they are all similar to each other in terms of 2 things. One is Jnana Swarupa, and Ananda Swarupa. So in terms of jnana, which we call as knowledge or consciousness, and bliss, all of them are similar. All of us are similar. All the Chetanas are similar. The Atma of an amoeba, or the Atma of a person, Atma of an elephant, Atma of an ant, everything is similar in terms of experience of jnana and experience of Ananda. That is point number 1, which comes in 29th sloka of chapter 6. So I'll just tell you that sloka, once 29th sloka of chapter 6 says that Sarvabhutastham Atmanam Sarvabhutani Chatmani Ikshate Yoga Yuktatma Sarvatra Samadarshanaha is what Krishna tells in this 29th sloka. The second stage is when the person realizes that the nature of individual self is without any defects of the nature of punya and papa. Punya, papa, rupa, dosha is not there, is what he realizes. Hello? You have a question? Something? I have to unmute.
Aryan, I have a doubt. This first, the 6th chapter, which you called the first stage, is again repeated in 5th chapter, no? Again in 19th sloka.
I couldn't understand. I couldn't hear you clearly. What is that?
This, which is the essential nature of individual self, is again repeated in 5th chapter. In the 5th chapter also it comes, no? In
Yeah, correct.
18th.
It comes. It is reinforced here. It is reinforced. Means, see, some people can call it as punarukti, but what we call as it is a reinforcement of the same concept. That means it should stand firmly in the mind. That is called abhyasa, is what it is called. So it is an abhyasa element. It is reinforced. Yeah, correct. You can say because
2 times it comes there, again it is coming here. In 5th chapter, 2 times Krishna will tell about this only, who sees equality in which it is stated, no?
Yeah, correct. I'm telling it is it is not repetition, it is reiteration, is what we say. We don't call it, we can call it repetition and say we can leave it. But no, we call it as reiteration. It is told again just to reinforce the concept in the mind. That's all.
Okay.
Next, the second stage is that Jivatma does not have the defect of the dosha of punya and papa, and that is called Atma Paramatma Samya. So in that respect, Jivatman and Paramatman are alike. So these characteristics, that they are without any defect of the nature of punya and papa, is common to both Jivatman and Paramatman, comes in the sloka number 30. So in terms of apahata papmatva, vijaratva, vimrutyutva, vishokatva, vijigatsatva, satyakamatva, satyasankalpatva, as told in the Chandogya Upanishad, in that respect also Atman is like that. So that is the second realization which comes to the Jivatman in the next stage of meditation. And third one, the third stage is when the Jivatman realizes that all the selves are modes of the Paramatman. So that Paramatman is the Prakari and Jivatmans are the Prakara, being his body. So this is one aspect of the Shariri Bhava, which Swami Bhagavad Ramanuja tells. So Jivatman is the Prakara and Paramatman is the Prakari, and Paramatman is Antaryami, or inner controller of all the Jivatmans. That realization comes in the third stage. And in the fourth stage, there is Asambandha Samya, means he is not associated with anything of this world. So if Krishna says in the 32nd sloka of the Bhagavad Geeta, the 6th chapter, he says that Atmaupamyena sarvatra samam pashyati yorjuna sukham va yadiva dukkham sayogi paramo matah. So whether happiness comes because of some worldly happening or sorrow comes, he is not related to that. He gets asambandha, he gets non-relationship with respect to whatever is happening in the world. So that is the fourth stage, that's the ultimate stage. And from then comes Bhakti Yoga, is what Lord Krishna, what Bhagavad Ramanuja tells in the Bhashya. See, this particular way of narrating for these four shlokas, 29, 30, 31, 32, is very unique to only Ramanuja Bhashya. No other Bhashya you can get this kind of explanation for these four shlokas. Now we go further. Now we saw Yoga Abhyasa Vidhi and 4 types of yogis we saw. Then yoga sadhanam. Yoga sadhanam is nothing but abhyasa and vairagya. That is practice and detachment or dispassion. Abhyasa is practice and vairagya is dispassion towards all worldly objects. Then yoga siddhi. Arjuna asked a question in this particular stage, that if a person becomes a yoga bhrashta, which means if a person falters from his path, if he becomes yoga, he loses the path of yoga, then will there be some loss for him? So Krishna tells, Nahi kalyana krit kaschid durgatim tata gacchati, he says. A person who has done good, he will never attain a bad state, is what Krishna gives assurance. And he says that he will continue in his future births to get birth in families which foster the continuation of his yoga practice, even though there may be a breakage, but it will resume when he gets into the new janma, in the new house where he is born. So that's what I was thinking. If a person is born, if a child is born in a place where lot of ritualistic worship or yogic practices are being followed, it's actually some kind of yoga brashta in the past which has lost the path of yoga, and then it's coming back to resume in the path of yoga and continue that from where it went. So my master used to say, there's nothing called stoppage. If you are on the path of sadhana, even though death itself may come, you will certainly be born in a better condition in the next janma, and you'll continue from where you left, is what they used to say. What he used to say. Then Swayogasya Paramyam. So Swayoga is the Divya Mangala Rupa, the divine auspicious form of Bhagavan, which is the form in which he is to be worshipped. This Swayoga, this Swarupa of Bhagavan, this Rupa of Bhagavan is Parama or supreme. There's nothing more than this. This is what comes in the Madhyama Shatka, in the chapters following this, in the 7th chapter to the 12th chapter. Bhagavan Bhakti Yoga gets mentioned there. Bhakti Yoga is what is explained in the 6 chapters, in the middle 6 chapters. So this Swayogasya Paramyam is the prelude or the preamble to the next 6 chapters which come. So from here, at this stage, we have finished 6 chapters, and this completes the Prathama Shatka, the first 6 chapters, the first hexad of the Bhagavad Geeta. There is two small things I want to tell you before we go to the chanting, if we can, because those are very, very important. Arjuna asked a question. It is very difficult to control the mind, Arjuna says. So Krishna says, Asamshayam Mahabaho. Krishna replies, Asamshayam Mahabaho Bano Durnigraham Chalam Abhyasena cha Kaunteya Vairagyena cha Grihyate. So by Abhyasa and by Vairagya, the mind can be controlled, is what Krishna clearly mentions. Now, what is the meaning of Abhyasa and what is the meaning of Vairagya? That we need to know. So this is taken from a slide which I had prepared about 2 years back. So it contains both the Shankaracharya and the Ramanujacharya definitions of Abhyasa and Vairagya. We'll just focus on the Ramanujacharya Bhashya in the interest of time. Atmanah Gunakaratva Abhyasa Janita Abhimukhyam is what Bhagavad Ramanuja tells. What does it mean? Practice. Abhyasa means cultivation of favorable attitude in the direction of the Atman by repeated contemplation of the Atman and its being a mine, a gold mine of auspicious qualities like eternality, self-luminosity, bliss, freedom from karma, purity, etc. Nityatva, Swayam Prakashatva, Ananda Swarupatva, Karmarahitya, Nirmalatva, etc. Continuous contemplation of this, repeated contemplation of this, the Atma Swarupa is what is Abhyasa. So that means what happens is by contemplation on these things, the Atma slowly gets away from whatever troubles and daily things which happen in daily life, the happinesses and sorrows which happen in daily life. Atma comes away from, slowly starts coming away from that, and that's what Abhyasa is. Then what is Vairagya is Abhimukya Atma Vyatirikteshu Vishayeshu dosha akaratva darshana janita vaitrishnyam. It is vaitrishnya. Vaitrishna means absence of hankering produced by seeing the host of evil qualities. Atma vitirikteshu vishayeshu dosha akaratva. Which means dosha akaratva means, you see, all the worldly things which happen in this world, all the worldly pleasures which come are always mixed with some difficulty, some dosha. It is not without any defect. Perhaps the only happiness we experience without defect is when we are in deep sleep state, dreamless sleep state, and at that state we don't have any defect at all. We are experiencing only happiness. But unfortunately, that state we don't know that we are experiencing that happiness at all. So that state is like as good as kind of, we are unconscious to that happiness, so we are completely lost in the sleep, and even though we are experiencing happiness, we are not aware of it. So vairagya is all the other happinesses which happen in the daily life, they are all mixed with sorrow, is that kind of realization will come, and that will lead to absence of hankering produced on seeing in the worldly objects. So in evil qualities in objects other than the Atman, which is the sought after object. This is Vairagya. Vairagya means withdrawal, viraga, withdrawal from all the attractions of the world. So Abhyasa and Vairagya, these are the two definitions. And there's one more thing I want to tell, which is in the 47th shloka, the last shloka of chapter 6, Krishna tells, Yoginam api sarvesham madgaten antaratmana shraddhavan bhajate yomam same yuktatamo mataha. What it means is, of all the yogis, he who possessed of, I have used the word faith here, faith means shraddha, worships me with his mind absorbed in me, and is in my opinion the greatest yogi. Sayog same yuktatamo mataha is what Krishna tells. Now, what is the meaning of Shraddha is a question. Bhagavad Ramanuja gives a very kind of unique meaning for the word Shraddha, and that I have put here at the bottom of the page. Shraddhavan is atyartha matpriyatvena kshanamatra viyoga asahataya matprapti pravrittau tvaravan. The most important word in this statement is tvara. Tvara means a sense of urgency. See, normally when we are dealing with when we want to do meditation, or we want to do some study of Veda, or Bhagavad Geeta, or Upanishad, or something like that, we'll say we'll do it tomorrow, we'll do it day after tomorrow, today I'm busy with some other activity, like that we say. But that is not what a person with Shraddha will do. Tvara means a strong sense of urgency. So a strong sense of urgency is present. Tvara will have in what? Mat prapti pravrittau, in the prapti, in the realization of the God, of the Paramatman, in the self, in the realization of Paramatman, in realization of God. So Krishna, Paramatma Sakshatkara, he will have a strong sense of urgency. How will he get it? Atyartha matpriyatvena kshanamatra viyoga asahataya. Means he will not even bear absence from the Lord, even for a moment. He will not bear, he will have atyartha priyatva, which means he will have total, a lot of complete bhakti towards the Lord, love towards the Lord. So Shraddhavan is a person who is not able to tolerate separation from Bhagavan even for a moment, because of immense love that he has in Paramatman, and for this reason has a great urgency, has a strong sense of urgency in making every effort to attain Bhagavan. So what happens is, for a Shraddhavan, Bhagavan takes topmost priority in all activities of his life. So he is not worried about, oh, tomorrow I have this deliverable to do, I have factory work or whatever, office work. No, nothing like that. He will be completely, Bhagavan will be the only priority in his mind. So that is what is the Shraddhavan. So we saw the three terms: Abhyasa, Vairagya, and Shraddha. So this is the chapter shloka number 10 of Geetaartha Sangraha for summary of chapter 6 once more. Yogabhyasa vidhir yogi chaturdha yoga sadhanam yoga siddhis swayogasya paramyam shashta uchyate. So that brings me to the end of this session. If you have any questions, I can answer. I can try to address if I know the answer. If not, we can go to chanting. Only Sri Ramanathan is there for chanting chapter 11. If there are any questions, we can ask. Or otherwise, I will tell the closing prayer. Hello. वसुदेव सुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानंदं कृष्णं वंदे जगद्गुरुं सर्वं श्रीकृष्णार्पणमस्तु लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्त सन्मंगलानि भवन्तु श्रीमते रामानुजाय नमः.